Story now. A report-back process to review the Women's Charter has been underway this Saturday in the Northwest. The engagement is aimed at ensuring women in the country are afforded opportunities to have a better life. In the past 2 years, Parliament embarked on a nationwide provincial 1994 Women's Charter review session that took stock of the progress made in implementing the Charter for effective equality and assessed its impact. Well, for more on this, Sylvia Lucas is the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces and joins me now from Uppington in the Northern Cape. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me, ma'am. So tell me about this review process. This is not a widely known document. It's not. It doesn't rank, along the same lines as if you say the Freedom Charter, everyone knows what you're talking about. If you talk about the March by the Women in 1956, everyone knows what you're talking about, albeit not a document per se. But this Women's Charter from 1994, I don't think it's as known as it should be. What are you finding as you are doing this review among the reasons why it's not well known, but also in terms of its implementation?
And it is actually very sad. Good afternoon to Lasisi. And it's actually very sad that the Women's Charter is not well known because, to say the honest truth, if you look back in the history, in 1954 already, the women came together under the auspices of FETSO, and they developed the very first Women's Charter, speaking about the issues that is important for women. And the Women's Charter of 1994 was also developed very late, almost whilst CODESA was continuing. The women realized that in the whole process, there is nothing specifically from women for women that is in this charter. But it has been developed, bringing out 12 articles. So in 2019, when we started the new term of the 6th Parliament, we realized that it is already 25 years since 1994 when the Women's Charter was actually developed. So we said to ourselves, is it not high time that we go back to the women of the country and then consult with them and also look at the legislative framework and also look in general in the country whether there is progress that has been made for women and whether there is the government program is responding to the articles that is there in the Women's Charter. So I should say from 2019 to 2021, we went district by district and we consulted women and we actually could lift out the areas where it is important that we begin to address the issues of women. Yeah. And the areas that was important for women. Okay, Tulas, you wanted to?
Sure. So I wanted to say, when I look at this charter, ma'am, I see a lot of similarities in its phrasing, in the priorities that it sets with what we have in the Constitution around, the whole issue of equality, and even the areas of life where it demands equality. So areas such as law and the administration of justice, that's a given, and that there should be effective equality there. The economy, education and training, development, infrastructure, etc., including the media itself. But I was thinking about it that it's one thing to have, this promissory note in writing. It's quite another to actually get this check that was written all those years ago cleared, such that women actually enjoy these rights that are stipulated here. So I'm wondering to what extent that is the reality you are finding as you are engaging, in this process of a review.
Can I just mention a few examples? For instance, yesterday we were in Northwest. Education is very high in the 1994 Women's Charter. But one of the issues that was raised by women was exactly the fact that there is a lack of skills amongst women, and there is also less opportunities for women to develop themselves, to be capacitated, and to have the capability to walk into any area of life. And some of the women say, we are here, we are graduates, but because the 35 to 59 years is just like there is a vacuum with regards to this kind of women to be empowered, to be employed, and also to be part of the programs that is existing. But what we found, in actual fact, like you said, issues of justice and so on. And what we also did as part of our process is to call in, like the Law Reform Commission, we call in the academici and all of them. And we said, help us so that women, whatever they experience, we will also be able to give responses to them. And I just want to mention one example of justice that is really not being done. And that is in the area of customary law. Because that is one of the issues that women felt very strong about. Not even just customary law, even the marriage regime. You find different marriage regime for different parts of the population. For instance, Muslim women, they had a very raw deal. And then women under customary law, they had a very raw deal. So whatever we say, if we say there has been very much similarities with what is in the Constitution, and similarities with what is in the Women's Charter, the issue at women is still getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
They are still getting the short end of the stick. And they realize that. And that is the reason why.
Yeah.
Yes, Tulas, you want.
Yes. So I'm wondering then, ma'am, that perhaps could it be that one of the weaknesses of the the Charter, as brilliantly written and conceptualized as it is, was perhaps a lack of follow-through, in the sense that responsibilities were meant to be assigned, and I imagine that targets set such that we should have been clear what was expected of government in the areas that are within government's control, what would be the imperatives for business, civil society, institutions such as the Law Reform Commission, such that 28 years later, as we're doing the review, part of it would have been to say, we gave you this task in 1994, and we gave you these timelines. Do you share that view, that perhaps that's where the weakness was, and perhaps it's not too late to fix it to the extent that some of these ideals are not being realized?
I think, yes, that was the weaknesses of the former women's charters. This one of 2021 that we termed the Women's Charter for Accelerated Development, I think we are trying to put very clear determination on who is to do what and what is our expectation. I had a meeting with the Ministry of Women. I had a meeting with the senior management, and also the CFO was there. And they actually said to me, this document is assisting us so much because it's very much clear in what is the expectation of the women, if you compare it with what was previously there. I mean, it was a document of saying that is what we want to see happening. It was not necessarily a document of demand to say this should happen to actually achieve this kind of outcome that will assist women and that will be better for women. And that is what we try to achieve with the 2021 Women's Charter, because we realize that sometimes we put documents there and we just hope for the goodwill of people to make sure that these things can be implemented. So with this one, we actually set out a process. And yesterday was the beginning of that process, that we said this is the Women's Charter, that is what the women want to see. And here we are now to see, as the executive, we were with you last year. We had a session with the women of the different districts in your provinces, and we had a high-level session where we briefed you with regards to the issues that emanated from our process. Now, come back and tell us, how far are you in making sure that there is a program that will work on it to implement what the women want to see happen.
Sylvia Lucas, thank you for your time this afternoon here on eNCA. She is the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, talking to me about the Women's Charter review process that is being undertaken.